Hello, good morning, viewers. How are you doing? Wherever you're watching this program, welcome to QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. We are back again on another edition of QTV this morning. Before the end of this week, I am pretty sure we will have very successful this mornings. As you know, on this program, we just don't break the news, but we break down the news for you so that you can understand what the stories are talking about, what's happening. And of course, we also have some interesting quotes and proverbs for you to interpret. We engage our guests to help us analyze some of the stories and some of the proverbs. And on the program, I'm with Mr. Momodou Mboj. Mr. Mboj, good morning. How was your weekend?
It was all right. I used my weekend to sort of have my me moment. So I don't want to read a novel or.
Okay, interesting. We'll come back to you. So if you're just tuning in, this is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now we'll take a look at the African Code. From the African Code, we will be engaging Mar Nyang. As you know, he is awarded a very big award. Mar receives U.S. Department of State Anti-Corruption Champion Award. What an award. Given to Mar Nyang. Last week I was here and I was like, Mar, if you know Mar Nyang, he fight against corruption. He advocates for accountability. And of course, let there be justice in every department, especially state-owned enterprises. So awarding him an award like this is not a surprise. So Mr. Mboj, let's continue. You were on a point before I take it over from you.
No. The fact that I just use my weekends to have a sort of me moment, doing that sort of stuff I like, I desire to do, not that I'm obligated to do. When you have your hobbies, you should be doing them. So that's it. Just sort of purely pleasure. I just use my weekends for just pleasure. Unless of course when I have my kids sometimes. Otherwise, it's just nice solo pleasure.
Mr. Mboj, you mentioned something very significant here, and I would like us to, make this clear to our viewers. Is it possible for one to focus only on work for the rest of your life? I just want to understand something without having pleasure, like without having fun at some point, taking a break, maybe continuing, to work for the rest of your life. What will happen to the human being?
I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about the traditional work-life balance, as it were?
Absolutely.
How much of it? How much do I dedicate to work, and then how much to pleasure, to relief?
All work, no play.
All mixed jack a dull boy, that sort of thing. So obviously you got to have that balance. Whole week perhaps you're following the news, what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Russia, what's happening in the Horn of Africa, all this serious stuff, real, that's reality. So on weekends, I don't know, I just want to go read a novel, go into a different world. I think that aspect of doing the pleasurable, I think it fuels the serious stuff really in very interesting ways, as it were, because here you're interpreting life, you're interpreting things, you have to show judgment. There are facts, but how do you knit them together? I think the world of the novel sort of it refines, I think, the judgment and how you look at things. I think one feeds into the other. So have a hobby and be doing it. And I suspect that it will improve the work. This is what I think.
You're telling me when you read a lot, when you engage your brain into reading certain novels, I mean, it changed the way you see things around you?
Absolutely. That's the imaginative world. You see, you have the world of reality, you know, blood, death, if you like, stuff like that. And then you have the other bit. Perhaps from there you might get, you see, this gives you what is the world of journalism, and perhaps the other one may help in what ought to be. You know what I mean? What isn't, but could be, the world of possibility. So, to my mind, the two are sort of mutually reinforcing. It helps.
Yes, at this point, we'll engage Mar Nyang. Mar is currently in the United States of America. I mean, he received the Anti-Corruption Champion Award, I mean, by the U.S. Department of State. It's a very significant award as far as fighting corruption is concerned. I mean, it's something very significant for you to be pinpointed at some point, you know, after a whole number of people that may be shortlisted, and you are part of the people that were awarded this award. And we have Mar Nyang on the line. Mar, good morning. How are you? Alaji Mar Nyang, good morning. How are you? Or is it good evening at your end?
That's probably what I suspect, if he is in the U.S.
Hello, Mar.
Yes, hello.
How are you? Is it evening at your end?
It's very, what, early, 3:17 a.m.
3:17 a.m. You know, so it's important for us to engage you on this program. I mean, as you know, this morning program here on QTV, you are not only a guest, but it is your program. I mean, this is a program where you review papers with us. This is a program where we propel, I mean, you know, that work that you do fighting corruption and making sure things go the right way, not only in the country, but throughout the world. Please tell us, how does it feel, I mean, to receive such an award from the U.S. Department of State?
Thank you, Rama and Isambol.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. For me, as I have reacted to it before, I really do not expect receiving awards or recognition for the work I do. In this work that I have been into. Never have I thought of such. So, if you have a foreign government far away, looking at the work that activists and advocates like us are doing in our country, and just out of the blue you receive an email that you've been nominated and finally you are going to be receiving this award, is unbelievable. There's something unthinkable when it comes to life, that the feeling you have. So, but then I see it more as terrain. This awards do come to challenges. It's a recognition, a global recognition, being also the youngest person receiving it. It puts more pressure on your shoulders to do more and help the country, and also groom younger people and even middle age and older people to join the fight, because what we're fighting for is like greater good, better do good, and it's what has been swallowed most countries, right? We had the case of Lebanon, how individuals in sector by cause economic distress for just their personal gain. That only paid millions of dollars, and it affected the salaries of others just because of one thing. So I mean, it's not something that you just sit and let it cross under the carpet. You need to stand up for it, and it's not because you are. Everyone in the government is an antagonist to you, or they are the criminal. They are not. You were just trying to make sure that you don't get buried alive.
Yes, it's very significant. I mean, Mar selecting you and be shortlisted, to be among the countries, and you are the one that is chosen to win this award. What were the criteria? What were they looking at so that they can award that individual with this significant award?
It's a very good question because one of the recipients when we were in Florida asked this question, and then also in DC they asked this question. He was also curious because he wasn't known by he has no relationship with the U.S. embassy in his country, and he just doesn't know. He's a judge. He was emailed and was informed that he was selected for this award. I mean, he has been adjudicating high level corruption against government officials, and out of the blue, he received that recognition. So he was asking the same question: what are the criteria? We all are curious. We don't know what the criteria are. What I know is the State Department have set of criteria that they look at on individuals around the world to confer this award to every year. So I wouldn't know what the criteria are. Just as curious as my fellow honoree is. I am also that curious, but they have their own criteria in identifying this person.
Yes. So, okay. All right.
Yeah, but Mar, I wonder though, because normally when these awards are being given, there's often perhaps a short citation on the recipient. What did they say about you? Was there any such a thing? And what did they say about you?
So it's on their website.
All right.
They have a citation on their website about the work I do with young people and also with government and legislators. Especially the highlight of it is the legislation of the anti-corruption law. It was passed last year, and it's also a law that I have been working with, I think, for a couple of years, over 5 years now. That I can work before the 20, the fifth legislature and then the sixth legislature. So that is one of the highlights of the product, but it's just not that work. It's a combination of all the work you've been doing in this area.
Absolutely, and just one more thing. I obviously I understand that, but from your angle, I would love to know this. I wonder what you would select in all the variety of stuff that you've done. What would you take to sort of be your flagship, if I can call it that, your flagship activity that embodies, as it were, that encapsulates the essence of Marnyang and Gambia participates?
That's an interesting question, Mr. Moy. I really do not have a choice out of the overlapping that I've done. And it's not only in country. I've done work outside the Gambia.
No, perhaps I'm inviting you, sorry. Maybe I'm just inviting you to sort of reflect on the values, the essence, as it were, of your work. What's the motivation as well? I would love to know stuff like that.
All right. So I keep telling people this. Before I came to this field, I never knew what advocacy is. I never knew what activism or such is. My first encounter with public sector corruption was in 2012 at the Barra Free terminal where I was coming from Alberta, and I saw an immigration officer trying to extort money from a Senegalese who had actually gotten all the documents that he needed. But regardless, he was trying to extort money from this individual, and I stood for it, and I told him what you were doing is not right. There's already taken documents, and that's how I got arrested and beaten there at the ferry terminal. So that's when I knew what is right and what is not right. I didn't know what corruption was. What I knew was what is an injustice. So it was from that level that I started developing myself, doing a lot of advocacy with not as big as the level, because the environment at the time was very unconducive.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's when I knew that the system was wrong, and when I started working in a law firm, I was responsible for just utilizing law reports. So the law reports that I have been reading also serve as a motivation, because there were just unbelievable rulings against individuals, against the state. So this also really motivated me to stand up. So coming to this administration, what I have realized was corruption was just a discussion that people have, and after a while it just goes on the back and people move on. There was lack of accountability, especially when it comes to what we call horizontal accountability, where you have public officials, public institutions holding government and public institutions and individuals accountable. So the space is very lonely, and I got into it. And when I started, it was a little bit more confrontational in 2017 when we were doing the follow the money, right? Tracking public expenditures, and also going to rural communities that these projects are supposed to be implemented, and then also verifying if they have been fully implemented, right? So they just variety of motivations that keep motivating me to do this job. I think for me, it's just not sitting and then talking about this issues, and then that's it. You just need to do more than that, which includes also, um, calling out individuals where necessary. Even though that's not my style, but if government fails to take action, then you exhaust all the remedies. That will be the last resort that you will have to resolve it. You just cannot sit and then see people give out public wealth and nothing happens. It affects our economy. I mean, that's one of the things that people don't see. The millions that are being stolen affects people's pocket, affects the growth of the economy. It also affects the advancement of the particular sector. And people also die as a result. So this is the necklace that most people are unable to make, right? According to the book between corruption and the loss of life. And that's one of the consequences and effects of this graph.
Mhm. Yeah, so Mar, what does this award means to a person who is constantly advocating, and fighting corruption?
Like I said, it means a lot, but at the same time, it is a challenge to do more, because sometimes you look at the shoulder and you look at this award and you start questioning yourself. Like there are billions of over a billion young people around the world, and millions of them are in the schools, right? So if you're being spotted, from it, you need to start questioning yourself. What should I be doing again? What more do I have to do? How do I improve on the work that I'm doing, and then also get more people in this advocacy, right?
Mhm.
So it really means a lot, but for me, it's challenge, a big challenge for that matter. Now you have to sit down and look at yourself, look at the work you're working at the organization, and also how you've been collaborating with partners, working with government and outside the government, right? And how do you multiply those efforts and then do more? Um, that that is what is ringing in my mind, and those are some of the plans that I'm actually thinking of. So it really means a lot, and very humble and appreciative of the U.S. government for this country. And one thing that I need to say as well is um, it is the embassies around the world that make this nomination. Sometimes they actually do this nomination without you knowing, right, in the first place. So this is also recognized U.S. embassy for them recognizing the work that I'm doing, also nominated me for this award, and then it goes through several reviews from the U.S. government until the final 10 are being selected. So to answer your question, it really is a challenge, honestly speaking.
Mhm.
To just do more, it's not like celebrating you as a hero, but challenging you to do better.
Yeah, so final question on the award. What role does the U.S. Department of State play in supporting global anti-corruption efforts?
That's a good question. First, they have what they call the Global Magnitsky Act. I'm not sure whether you know Mr. Magnitsky, the lawyer in Russia who was assassinated for his constant advocacy and follow up on economic crimes in Russia. So the Congress came in with a law and they named it after him. And they call it the Global Magnitsky Act. In this act, they using this act to sanction public officials who are being advanced, who are actually notorious of corruption and massive human rights violations. It's on this act that President Yahya Jammeh, the former President Yahya Jammeh, was also sanctioned, right? And some of his associates were also sanctioned under this law. And it is through this initiative that his ill-gotten assets that were located in Potomac, Maryland, was confiscated and returned back. I mean, it was auctioned and now those monies are being returned back to the Gambia. And aside Gambia, there are so many other countries that they have this. I'm not here to be the PR or the spokesperson of the US government, but I'm just telling you what I know. They also have their own challenges, which they also acknowledge our meeting. And they also share stories within their own jurisdiction, how corruption has been manifesting itself from both the state and federal level. So it is a global menace. It is a global cancer. And every country, some are trying to spread it, and some are actually spreading it. So that is what I can say. And then obviously, we also collaborate with the US government. Couple of years now, most of our engagements are with from them. So it takes also a government to see the work that we're doing and then putting money to help to aid the work we're doing to achieve the targeted goals on anti-corruption. So that is also something that I think we're able to do with resources, including our government as well.
Yes, interesting. Thank you very much, Mar, for taking us through, I mean, the award. And congrats, you know, we are encouraging you to do more. So let's move on, Mar. We'll still like to engage you on our African code. We still have the code here. And today's code read, when you make a compliment, you build hope. When you keep it, you build trust. When you make a compliment.
We need to change that. I think it is when you make a commitment.
Oh, commitment rather. I wasn't watching while reading.
All right. When you make a commitment, you build hope. When you keep it, you build trust.
Exactly.
Yes, especially in the area of commitment. I think Mar will have. Is he still there? I'm sure they'll have a lot to say about that. Because his whole work is really, I think, is built on commitment, isn't it, really?
You know.
No, definitely. And to look at it in a greater picture or in a broader aspect, let's look at it in a country. Right? When people make a commitment to build their country and achieve a targeted goal, there's always a hope, right, in the citizenry. People will hope that we're getting somewhere else. If there's lack of commitment, then you have lack of hope, and people, start looking elsewhere. When they lack hope in their country, in their people, in their government, that's where you also see people getting into this deeply illegal migration, looking for hope and future in order to the vision. So, what I understand with this phrase of like this proverb is when a to look at it in a picture of a country, when people work together, when government, civil society, the media, and everyone, citizens work together to build a country, then there is sense of hope in the people, and that also builds trust in your government, right? As you're building collectively committed to build a country, you have that hope, and then you start trusting your government. And this is why you see in other countries, people using their money and giving it to the government. And I wanted to use one example. You see the Smithsonian museum that you see in this part of the world. It was an individual that said, when I die, I want my money to be given to my niece, right? And if the niece is not actually happy, my niece doesn't have any offspring, then I want this money to be given to the government to do, to build museums and then preserve art and the culture of other people. So can someone else in our country make a will and then say, when I die, I want this money to be given to the government? I will not say yes to that question because of the lack of trust. So this is one of the things that our government, not only in Gambia and around our region, needs to work in building trust. It's very important because other countries like in Niger, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, that's what happened. People lacked trust. There was no commitment to build the country. There was lack of hope, and also people lacked trust in it, and they decided to take government to claim the government, which is not right. It's illegal to do so. This is just to give you the root causes of some of the issues.
Yes, exactly. I mean, interesting there. I mean, compliment, you build trust and commitment. Why is the script saying compliment?
Because somebody wrote compliment.
Compliment.
And I wonder who did.
Well, at some point,
you typed
I said, wow,
yeah.
I got it right. The paper said compliment at some point. But it's commitment. I mean, you commit yourself to do something.
Absolutely.
But you see, commitment is something worth, guiding properly. When you commit yourself to do a certain thing, at some point, it's important for you to live by that commitment. When you keep it, you build the trust. It comes together. Trust and commitment.
Build hope.
You build hope. And trust
afterwards,
as well.
Yeah, when you keep it, you build the trust.
Commitment, hope, and trust, they all goes together, at some point.
They all go together. So for me, the key question immediately was, what's the difference between commitment and promise, for instance? I just wanted to explore this concept called commitment. What does it look like in action? You see, most of these things are just terms, abstractions. The important thing is, how do I translate this into action? What does commitment mean? So I contrasted it with promise. Promise, what? Being a statement of intention, isn't it? You can break your promise or not. But commitment appears to be more active than that. It means action. As they say, love is a doing word, so commitment is a doing word, as it were.
To commit yourself.
To commit yourself.
Commitment.
That's exactly it. It's not lip deep.
Well, at some
promises
point,
are possibly
at
lip
some
deep.
point you might think commitment and promise, they are somehow, they are similar kind of.
They're pointing in the same direction, if you like, but I think there's a stronger, the value, as it were, that moves commitment. It's rooted more in your action. You say you have to take an action to show that you are committed, whereas a promise is something that I say, and it could be for your own sake, not mine. Whereas commitment really has to come from me. You know what I'm talking about? When I promise you something, for instance, I'll buy you mbahal tomorrow. It's not for me because you want it. So in the morning, I'll just pass by where I normally buy it and buy it for you and bring it.
The problem is...
Or I can break my promise.
The only issue is, why are you mentioning that mbahal?
No, but why shouldn't I? But why shouldn't I? But again, you see, you can promise and fail. Isn't that? That's a perfect demonstration of what a promise is.
I think I'll have to fulfill my promise then.
You have to be committed to
All right.
Well, commitment is something else.
Once you promise someone, it means you
can
commit. You are committing yourself.
Not necessarily.
Someone will tell, don't commit yourself. You're promising me to do certain things.
You see, being dedicated, as it were, to something is simply different from just sitting down and talking about my intentions. I intend to do this, I intend to do that. So one must please the border very, very well. When you say you're committed, we must see you taking action, otherwise you are not committed. I think it is that action that really makes the difference in the end.
Okay,
really.
So we have, few minutes left for the newspaper review, but at some
we
point,
haven't done any newspaper
yeah.
review.
So we are almost getting into time for the newspaper review. So let's take a look at this. Good morning, Mr. President. Celebrating the legacy and challenges of the Point newspaper. Today is the anniversary of the Point newspaper. As you know, the Point newspaper is among the first newspapers in the Gambia, and they've been in existence now for over almost 33 years, and we all understand the history behind the Point newspaper. Deda Haidara and Pap Sen, at some point, Deda Haidara was assassinated, and
on this day.
On this day, so today is the anniversary.
16th of December.
Exactly. So Mar, what does this mean to the people of the Gambia? It's the Point newspaper's anniversary today, and we all understand when it comes to corruption, when it comes to showing the public what is supposed to be done, and also holding governments accountable. The Point have been doing it for a very long time, and here today we are celebrating their anniversary.
Well, that shows the remarkable work that the Point newspaper and its officers have been doing since its establishment. I think they refuse to surrender to this system of government where newspapers fear the government and they start reporting what government wants to hear and read. So we were all young when this assassination took place. And I was just reading a piece by someone else that was published a couple of hours ago on Parliament. Someone else wrote a piece regarding this, the Gambia era and also the assassination of Deda Haidara. And it's really, unbelievable. Deda Haidara at the time, 2004. When this government, when the regime was actually becoming more brutal, was writing and informing the public of the abnormalities, the corruption that was happening, when many people dare not to do so. And he got assassinated for doing just what he was doing. And this is the statement that I gave when I was making my acceptance speech. These are heroes that have sacrificed their life for serving and protecting their country. So I think it is a model that many newspapers around the world should actually look into. And I encourage the Manopap Sen also have been doing a lot more work, and his staff also have been doing a lot reporting on budget and corruption issues. So I want to encourage them to do more of that and continue the legacy of Deda Haidara and doing more investigative work, like some of their colleagues have been doing. Continue doing, and I just want to congratulate them for the remarkable work.
Exactly. Yes. The good thing about the Point newspaper, they've been very consistent in doing, their job. At some point, we've also seen improvement in some of the things that they are doing. We've seen the Point app. They've created a Point app, the Point newspaper app, where you would be able to access their stories, without even struggling. So I think they are also keeping up the momentum, to be, where they are supposed to be. As you know, now we have a generation of mobile phones and tablets at some point. So they are also making sure their readers always get the stories anywhere they are, Mr. Mboy.
I remember when I came back from Sierra Leone, having studied journalism there, it was to the point that I first went to, and I spoke to Deda Haidara. This was way back in 1994, was it 1995? So yes, his death that was shocking to us. I mean, with people like Mar, they were much younger, but for us, we were adults. Can still remember that. We couldn't believe that our government would go that far, because by then we had a pretty good idea, the idea of the junglers and everything that's been going on. People sort of knew, you know, stories, these things, they were like shadows, as it were. Everywhere you turned, you could see dark shadows. Conversation felt like that, as it were. So, yeah, quite extraordinary that now we've reached this point today. We've had the TRRC, now we've got some of the facts about what happened there. So today, really, for the point, I think it's a kind of bittersweet, as it were, kind of experience, in the sense that you're marking this longevity, you know, in spite of all the difficulties that you've faced, yet you've been part of the regular dailies. You know, there was a time there was a Daily Observer, even that one is gone. So now it's between really the Point and Foroya that's been here the longest. You know, all the rest, the Standard came afterwards. So this consistency, that in itself tells you a lot about the way the paper's being run. So congratulations, and yet, you know, the data is gone, it's not going to come back. So that's what I mean by this bittersweet thing. One is to commemorate the memory of data, and the other bit is to celebrate the fact that you've been around for so long. So, you know, we salute the Point, as it were, for their contribution to the national conversation. As they say, the country, we have our intellectual conversation in papers. So they've been a regular feature, and we must be congratulated and, you know, rededicate ourselves to the spirit of data.
Exactly. So now let's move on to the last, story on the Standards newspaper. You know, the head of the UDP party, Ousseynou Dabo, is telling President Adama Barrow not to seek re-election. And at this point, we'll like to engage Mar Nyang again. And be reminded, Mar Nyang is currently in the United States of America. He received an anti-corruption, award by the U.S. Department of State. Mar, in fact, the lawyer, the head of the UDP party is telling President Barrow not to seek re-election. In fact, our constitution did not give us, a term limit. So is it not Barrow's right, to seek re-election if he wants?
Interesting question. I think that's what Gambia decided in 2016, that we need change of government, we need change of leadership every 2 decades, or every decade, sorry. To explore the expertise and the pace of development that another party will bring in. That is what Gambia stood for in 2016. Yes, that's what the constitution said, but also a reminder that President Barrow, and no more than 2 occasions, have been mentioning that he's a big fan of two-term, and he's going to set that example so that people follow suit. So I will hold him on those people that he said as a leader, even though that's what the Constitution says. Right? There are so many things that the Constitution says, but our governments are not doing it. So we cannot just pick and then say, yes, it is his right if he so desires to run for a third term. Morally, it will be unacceptable for the work that he has made to the people of the Gambia, and also when he was campaigning to run for office in 2016. This is something that Gambia cannot forget. must make sure that there is two-term limit. People sit for 2 terms, do their work, set the foundation, and then someone else continue the work that they've been doing. So I think that's what Ghanas are aspiring for, and I really think President Barrow, if he steps down after 2 terms, I will go on the more Ibrahim Foundation to confer that $5 million prize on him because it would be the first Gambia to start office and leave after 2 terms, despite the constitution saying so. And then also call on the international community and the ECOWAS to use Barrow as an envoy who will be going around the world and then settling dispute and taking to documents that, especially the papers that we have in our continent that are overstaying. Barrow to start initiating this conversation with them to step down, and I think Barrow has that opportunity to do that, and then he will live a better life, after he decides to step down. So I would really advise him not to listen to the people that are telling him that he should stay, because most people's income and survival depends on Barrow being in office. But they're going to eat him up. They were going to eat him up alive before you realize he's going to be the one that you are going to go after, which are going to done. So for me, I think that will be my advice to President Barrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mar Nyang, for talking to us on QTV this morning and also reviewing the newspapers with us. And we hope to see you soon, And Mr. Mboj?
Yes. Is that it? Are we done now?
Yes, for this segment.
Okay, all right, really, because we did our statement.
Yes,
I think that's very interesting.
We've already exhausted most of the time. So we will take a short break, and after the break, then the program continues. We'll be right back. So, Balde, so we are rolling. Yes, welcome back. You are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Balde. So now let's move to the third segment of this program, and we have the CRS with us, CRS team with us in the studios. The Catholic Relief Services is making a significant milestone. You know, it's 60th. I mean. Anniversary, and it's very important for us to engage the team in the studios to tell us what have they been doing. You know, it's not a new name. When you hear the CRS, you think about assistance, you know, helping, alleviating sufferings and the likes. So we have Ibrahim Jaju, you know, country manager.
Representing
the country manager,
exactly.
CRS, and Aliuba, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning technician advisor. We have you. So it's good to have you gentlemen in the studios. So please, let's you know, hear from you a brief history of the CRS in the Gambia. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bach. CRS came into the Gambia since 1964 at the invitation of the Catholic Church and the government of the Gambia then to provide development assistance. But you know, initially it was more of responding to emergencies. Emergencies in those days comprised of people that are affected by long-term and very chronic diseases like TB, leprosy, that were, you know, they were stigmatized, and those people were left out in isolated conditions and very deplorable conditions. So CRS was supporting those individuals that were isolated, working through their different structures, like the Catholic nuns, the sisters, you know, who were all over the country. Some of their priests who were, you know, equally in many parts of the country. So those were their programs, and also supporting destitutes, people that were at home, very old, infirm people, providing clothing, providing food, providing those sort of short-term assistance.
Okay.
Over time, the program evolved. The CRS program between 1964 to now evolved from providing response. We continued to provide emergency response to any situation over time. Now it's like nationwide natural disasters. For example, flooding, droughts, crop failure. You know, whenever something strikes that affects people's food security, we respond in a massive way throughout the country. So that was the evolution of the emergency process itself. And then on the other side, we are also involved in providing development assistance in the form of programs. You know, promoting, for example, the growing of sesame. That was one thing that CRS was known for. We were also promoting growing of other crops that are in the country, like rice. We've done a lot of rice production in the agriculture area. We've also supported women with gardens, you know, in many parts of the country. Before then, we on the other side also we were also involved in health, providing nutritional assistance to malnourished children across the country. Two main programs that everybody would know CRS for was the Dibabungos, which is the community management committees. We have 118 of them across the country that we have supported about 16,000 women at any given point in time, or caregivers, and about 4,000 to 5,000 pregnant women consistently. In addition to that, for the agriculture front, we are working with what we call the Sesame Growers Association, which we are really built on the CAFO structure, and we have 72 of them. These structures were also supported to grow sesame in a massive way, produce sesame, market sesame, and also provide some form of processing it for their own benefit, and also to sell it in the market. Over time, we also evolved that to what we call a market-led sesame production, where women were trained and supported by CRS to develop the entire value chain of sesame to the point of importing it to the international market. And that has happened here, working with 40,000 women farmers across the country. So these were some of the things. We came in 60, 64, government gave them an office free of charge. This was where the former Rede Gombe was #1 Marina Parade. We were there until 1997, 98. Then we moved to Lehman Street, where we were there. We were in Lehman Street for another 10 years. Then we moved to now Fajara. Fajara and Lehman Street we were renting, but the initial stage will tell you that government really was embracing CRS, and we are very thankful to the government of that time and also to the government today, that we have been consistently supported by government and embraced, and our activities were really very useful to the Gambian people.
Thank you, Mr. Jaju. Now let's engage Mr. Ba. What is your role as far as CRS is concerned?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Barry. You rather become a Mr. Ba. Like, I am the Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability and Learning Technical Advisor. Basically, my role at CRS is to look at programs in relation to set targets and how we monitor performance. We look at the performance framework of projects, look at our set targets, and I ensure that we are moving straight towards targets. And if there are any possible deviations, I'll advise management so that corrective actions could be taken at the right time so that we achieve our aims and objectives set in the project. Basically, this is what I do at CRS. Yeah. And my role also is not related to a particular project. It's cuts across all the projects in the CP, whether it is health, education, agriculture, any project across the CP.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a quite interesting evolution there you've sort of charted, more from relief, the name, Catholic Relief Services, to now developmental. It's got this developmental aspects. So I take it you work together with government and local communities. Tell us about that, this transition from mere humanitarian relief now to developmental projects. As well.
Yeah, let me, I can, thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Mboj, thank you very much for that. Yes, we continue to respond. You know, emergencies are here. They are behind. They are just at the back door. They come out all the time. So we are always doing emergency response as an agency worldwide. And you know, to go back, I just want to say that it's important to know that CRS, Catholic Relief Services, belongs to the bishops of the United States. It's like the Caritas of America. The Caritas of America working with the Caritas of the Gambia. You know, Caritas also Gambia has a Caritas, which belongs to the bishop and the diocese and the Catholic. So the two of them are like brothers, you know. So it's coming, Catholics in the U.S. living their faith with Catholics in the Gambia. But that shouldn't confuse us with the fact that the people we respond to is everybody globally. It's like you can be a Muslim, an animist, a Christian, a pagan, whoever it is, we respond. People that are in need. Those are the people that we are responding to. So development, we go into development to really bring sustainable improvement in people's lives, but we don't also stop at development. We go into the level of the policy level. We try to bring policy advocacy to bring a lot of changes. We get involved in peace building, because with peace, things can be normalized. If you go to the Catholic Church, there's what we call a Justice and Peace Commission, which is responsible of promoting peace and justice at community level, working with different groups and working with different societies. And this is globally. If you remember, there's a project here called WANEP, West African Peace Initiative. CRS set that up. And we set it up in all the other countries within West Africa to promote peace after the issues that happened in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. We didn't want it to happen to the Gambia and in other West African countries. So we developed this as a deterrent to ensure that peace prevails in these other countries. So we are working on the ground intensively. People may not be aware of that, but we are deliberately doing that. And also we don't do programs directly, because we work through local institutions. We build their capacity up so that they can continue. One day CRS may leave. As an international organization, we may change our operational model. We may work with a local entity. So we have a program called the Local Leadership Initiative. Like when we started one of our programs in malaria, we are working with the Ministry of Health were what we call a principal recipient. Minister of Health was principal recipient. Over time, we became an SR because we are supporting the ministry build their capacity and so that they develop trust with the donor, and then we just work with them to continue doing that. So we are doing the same thing with local institutions like the governor, the Gambia Food and Nutrition Association. We set it up from the beginning. NAUFA, we set them up from the beginning. There are a lot of other NGOs. AdWork in the North Bank. These are all NGOs that we work with, build their capacity from the grassroots by providing them with small funding and increasing those funds gradually. And that's the development part of it, so that they can do programs that people want them to do. You know, using the people themselves to do their own programs. When we have this approach of supporting them to develop in their own hands, that means they really lead their own development, subsidiarity, and so the development is done at the local level.
Exactly. So, I mean, Mr. Ba, how do you determine, okay, this is an area that we should intervene as CRS?
Now, thank you very much. Just to buttress on one of the peace points he mentioned, CRS, we've been supporting a lot of peace initiatives in this country, but maybe people may not know. We have supported extensively the TRRC with training their staff on trauma awareness. We have provided them with materials to be able to record information from the field. We have also supported a lot of the community reconciliation activities that have taken place in some of the troublesome. So CRS has really worked extensively with the TRRC on its community outreach programs. So like you have said, how do we determine programs?
Yes.
Whatever we do at CRS, we always ensure that it is aligned with the beneficiary or host country's strategic plan and priorities. Like, for example, in the Gambia, we have a national development plan. So whatever we do, we look at how it fits within the national development plan, which is also a priority area of the government, and that is how we intervene. Whether it is in agriculture, we look at how it fits into the national development plan, in education, in health. So everything that is within the national development plan and priority area of the country, that is how we look at the program, and that is how we try to fit in within the host government's
on the I'm also to know that you've also awarded some of your partners as well during the anniversary. I mean, what is all this award about? Some of them.
Yeah, I think just to the award provision. The awarding of partners. As I said, we don't do programs directly, and partners that have worked with us consistently. You know, we target NGOs, as I said, from the grassroots. So some of them will disappear on the bandwagon as we go through, because we do two things. We want to build their operational capacity. We also build their programmatic capacity so that they implement quality programs. You know, NGOs often will have this bad name. You know, briefcase NGOs. You know, Banjul NGOs. Whatever NGOs, club NGOs, they are not doing anything. Those are the things we try to avoid. We build your capacity. If you are doing rice production, you do it in the best way possible.
Okay.
Like we have a partner when people live in Banjul, like the minister goes to visit rice fields, they go to our rice fields because the rice fields are so good that they want the minister to see that, even though they are not, it's for the government, but it is done by CRS and their partners. So we give them awards based on their performance over the years. Some of them we've partnered with them for over 30 years, and they have been consistently accountable to the resources of donors. They have also been consistently accountable to the communities. To the communities, meaning that they are giving them good programs and good outcomes. Yes, for both health, agriculture, microfinance, and all the things that we've been saying here.
Yeah, so Mr. Mboch.
Yes, that's a very interesting point there, being sort of like facilitative. You've been facilitating certain things, and you would have to monitor, isn't it, and evaluate, as it were, what's working and what's not working. So, but I'm sure you have a tracker. You track afterwards how they performed after you had left. What do you say about that? How do you see, what profile emerges, especially with these groups that you help them stand on their feet, and then afterwards, what happened?
I think the whole idea is to be able to build the capacity of the NGOs we are working with so that they can do things in their own hands. That is a strategy for CRS to ensure that people do things in their own hands when CRS steps behind. So the way we do that is to support them, build their capacity, for be able to mobilize resources on their own. But if there are opportunities that we feel that we can support them to mobilize resources, we will do that. And then we will support them in implementing those programs. So in essence, most of the NGOs we have been working with have been able to mobilize resources on their own, even without the involvement of CRS. And that is a very sure way to ensuring sustainability in the field. Because they are directly in the communities, they are closer to the people, they know the needs of the people. So, and they can also associate with the people. So that is one way to ensure that the programs they are implementing are sustainable. The people will take ownership of those programs even when resources are not being provided by the projects. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jaju and Aliuba for coming on the program. And, you know, we look forward to having more of these programs, you know, in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Very much.
Yes, thank you. So, viewers, we'll be right back after the break. We are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's head to the last segment of this program. And we are honored to have the president of the Women Journalists Association of the Gambia, WOJAG. And she goes by the name Annette Camara. And, you know, we've been yearning to have her on this program for a very long time. But it is decreed that today is the day. And it is good to have you here.
Thank you for the invite, and of course, it's good to be back on QTV.
It's good to have you so that we can discuss, you know, about WOJAG. Please quickly, let us start with what inspired the founding of WOJAG.
So technically, Women Journalists Association was actually founded in 2010, and with an ad hoc executive that was just established to ensure that it supports and promote and encourage women in the media to actually bridge the gender gap and, of course, report on women. But along the line, fast forward, it was a very dormant association until 2022, February, when we took over as an association. And then we realized that it was just there, but not much has been done. And there was no constitution. We were not even known. A lot of people didn't even know that there was Women Journalists Association.
I was surprised to hear since 2010 you've been in existence.
Absolutely. I was also surprised to know it was in existence 12 years before we joined. So, I mean, we were actually recruited to attend one of their trainings they got from UNESCO. That was back then in 2018, 2019, which did not actually wrap up, or isn't best known to the previous executive. And apparently that was just the end of Women Journalists Association. And of course in 2022, like I said, we deemed it necessary to take over and of course revive the association, but not just to revive, but to rebrand the Women Journalists Association, regain prominence, regain recognition, respect we deserve, and also be on the spotlight. And then that was how we actually organized the rebranding of the Women Journalists Association with the help of Freedom House Gambia, where we were able to actually launch the association in December 12, 2022. And in this launch, we were able to adopt a constitution that governs us as an affiliate of the Gambia Press Union. And of course, officially unveil our logo, have our social media handles, and of course, a website.
So let's talk about the problem here. Why was the Women Journalists Association dormant, I mean, for all these years? What was the problem?
Honestly, I am not sure I'm in the right position to talk about that because I was not part of it. I was not part of the executive, although I joined the media in 2010 right from high school. And of course, known for all the radio shows and of course the Good Morning radio shows that had prominence in the country. And of course, that is what I can talk about. But as to why it did not work out as it should, I mean, it would have been ideal if you'd asked the former executive.
I would have loved you to tell me, okay, since I came into office, okay, I realized they were not doing this and that. That's why it was dormant, because you need to know the problem before you fix the problem.
So I am totally different, right? I've realized that Gambia, we are so much focused at pointing fingers and talking about the past and not actually looking forward as to how to bridge the gap.
But there are problems that you know. You need to know what the problem is.
What I knew
before
was
you fix it, you need to go back to the problem.
What I knew was the problem was there was no structure, right? And that was why we were able to
There you go. That's the problem.
No, but this is why I just started off with that, because I mean, for me, it's just not relevant to talk about, oh, you know, they did not have this, they did not have, no. It doesn't work like that. For me, they had an initiative which was brilliant and they were able to set it up. That's a bonus, right? They've paved the way for us.
But
so when we came,
setting it up and being dormant is as good as not setting it up.
But then again, something has been done. Maybe if they did not set it up, I would not be motivated to actually take the lead and change the narratives. For me, what was fundamental is changing the narratives, having the recognition and what we deserve as women in the media. I mean, because, for instance, we look at the Gambia Press Union, its data, we have more women in the media, especially in the junior categories, which is the reporters, the interns, the presenters, the host. You have more women than men, right? And then you also look at the media landscape as you go through the system. You get to realize that when you climb the ladder and get to the senior reporters, the senior presenters, the number drops down. Again, you also look at when you get to senior managerial positions, you hardly ever count the number of women. And now we look at editors and producers in newsrooms, right? How many women do we have? You start from JRTS, I come to QTV, to the smallest media houses. How many women do we have occupying key positions, especially managerial positions, when we have a lot of competent women, right? And then we now look at the media landscape and look at women ownership. Again, out of the 46 registered on the Pura website, you get to realize that it's recently that VOD is added to the list where you had the Kirfatu Fatu Network and the Elegance magazine, which were technically for women, right? The number is still low. So for me, it's very fundamental that when we come back, we push to bridge that gap and shatter the glass ceiling. And how do we do that? It's just what we are interested in. And that was why I said fundamental for us was to launch the Women Journalists Association, for people to know that we are here, we exist, we have a focus, we have a mission, and we work towards that. We adopted a constitution, we have something that governs and guides us, right? And then we are able to establish a social media handle. And as I talk to you, it's a very tough job working in the Gambia for a voluntary association that doesn't pay anything. Everything you do it for the love and out of courtesy. And as for me, I believe that if I can't contribute to anything positive, I mean, there's no point being in existence. So I think the little we can do as women in the media is to empower younger women and support each other through mentorship programs, through career guidance, through coaching, so they're able to understand that, I mean, Rome was not built in a day. one step at a time. So we're able to get there gradually. I mean, you also get back to the media and look at the media landscape and the narratives. The most prominent faces and figures and voices in the Gambian media, women. You look at the likes of Jaina Banyang Jai. You look at the likes of Nana McDowell Gay, Ami Juf Cole, Lala Haidara. How many women have they trained? Agnes Tamasi of the Gambia now running West Africa Democracy Radio in Dakar. How many Gambian women, prominent women, do we have outside the Gambia that are making headlines, that are Gambian women? And this doesn't actually reflect in our media houses. It happens because they've strived their way out. Now you look at the same Fatou Kamara, Fatou Toure. They started from GRTS, where they're given that they are good, they're competent, and they're able to leave GRTS and establish their own media houses. So it tells you there's value, there's essence. What we lack is a little bit of guidance and a little bit of coaching. We've had enough of the problems, and he said, she said, now the focus is let's solve the problems.
So from my understanding, I mean, the reason why WOJAC is established, I mean, is to make sure women get their rights.
Absolutely.
They get their own cake when it comes to the media.
Absolutely.
You've mentioned prominent names like the likes of Nana McDowell Gay, you've mentioned the Fatus, a lot of them. But I mean, they got their prominence in the media before the coming of WOJAC.
But then again, competence. This is why I referenced them. It's because they're competent and they are what they're solved. And that was why when they left, they made bigger names.
Mr. Mboj, bigger names.
Yes, absolutely. For me, I'm curious. Earlier on, you said that when you go to the very bottom of the rung, you have lots of women.
Absolutely.
But as you go higher, they become fewer.
Absolutely.
What's the direction? What's the plan to redress somewhat this asymmetrical relationship?
Coaching, mentorship, career guidance, and that was why I said this is what we are focused on.
You reckon that in itself can
agree.
redraw the balance, the landscape?
If it cannot redraw it exclusively, it can actually change something. Because what we've realized is that, let me take reference, we're currently, last month, we have launched a program with the US Embassy under the PWD grant, and part of it is to train women. Interestingly, we went to rural Gambia and we came back a couple of days ago. So we went to rural Gambia and we've realized that out of all the community radios in rural Gambia, the entire staff role for all the radio stations is 26 women. And interestingly, they're volunteers.
And what have you done? Have you engaged the management?
It's because we went there, we did an engagement with the management. That was why we are able to know this exists, right? And we've done the same trail with some media houses within the greater Banjul area, right? We've realized they also have more women at the grassroots. And now, how do we solve the problem? Like he said, we've realized that most of these girls do not have mentorship, right? Do not have the proper education in terms of getting the job done. And we've also realized that media houses would also not actually help empower and support women. Sad truth, but that is the reality. Right? If you, for me, what I believe in is when you have a staff and you know she has potentials, as a manager or as a supervisor or as a news editor, you should actually help support your staff to boost his or her career. It doesn't matter the gender. As long as you have seen competence, you have seen opportunities, what I expect is you help push, unless you tell me she doesn't want to learn. But then in the conversation with most of these women, what they tell you is, we are constrained with society, we're constrained with family, we are constrained with even the institutions we work for. You assume to have, for instance, you've started the job as an intern and you're retained. Now, along the line of the 3 years, you've realized, you know what, I want to go back to uni and get a BSc, and then the institution starts to play a hanky-panky game, and it happens in technically almost all the media houses, right? And this is one of the biggest challenges we're faced with. In the conversations we had with women in the presence of their managers. This is not something we did behind the scenes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So support is lacking from all aspects. And then I'd always relate that with what I hate to say, which is patriarchy. All right? Because I always tell people, I don't like to talk about women empowerment because naturally we have been empowered by society, by religion, and by culture. Because we run the show. But then because of patriarchy, and a lot of people don't actually support women and try to limit you. Oh, you nga hamne jigen nga. Why should you do this?
Time bi Lucy des bariwul finally looy tëjee. Bompa bi léegi mu dugal.
I told you guys you should stop inviting me for 10 minutes.
No, we will give you.
We have a lot to talk about. I know. And I have my personal beef with QTV.
Absolutely. Bul def loolu. Xam nga lu ñoo def mooy. Neexal nañ la dinañ la joxaat 1 hour another time.
And okay, interestingly, I'd have to say this. We're currently doing a mentorship program, and I'd like to say thank you to Ade Darmi. He's also mentoring 2 of our girls.
Oh, nice.
Right? And interestingly, Ade is impressed with the girls we have had. And I know he would not be happy if I say this, right? Yeah. Our girls are doing amazing stories. Only for QTV to air these stories. QTV's management is not going to allow us to edit this.
Well, we'll get to the QTV management.
And then you are saying we're talking about women empowerment. How do we bridge the gender gap? And here we are having your editor mentoring 2 young girls with potentials and doing amazing stories. Now they're forced to redo their stories. Not in TV, but for radio, and we give it to another radio station to say it for free. Where is the support for women?
We'll handle that. Oh, the bumper is there. Lola, I don't know.